Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review. We're the host of the What Do You Say Anime podcast. Nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the bland protagonists of the What Do You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 2011 original Guilty Crown. Let's meet today's jiggle physics experts. First up, after Shu pulled out his void, it was revealed that his void was a how-to book on how to do Fortnite dances. We have the epic gamer himself, Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
Funny story. I've only ever won one game of Fortnite.
Yeah, did you do the L dance after you won?
No, because I didn't have it at the time. That's how broke I was.
I'm glad
I
times have
guess you could say
changed.
I really took the L on that one.
Yes, you did. Next up, his void revealed to be a 3D printer that only 3D prints 3D printers. We got Kat. Kat, how's it going?
I'm doing well, man. You got me.
Did I? All right.
Yeah, you got me. I don't have a response.
Those basic introductions can be tricky at times. Making his return, his void is a megaphone that only utters the word, "It's the J Factor, baby." We got Jay. Jay, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. I just gotta say that, forget returning to Monkey, advance to Crystal.
And we
Nah.
shall in this review. And his void was to pull out a twin mattress that allows him to sleep when it gets past 9 p.m. We got Grandpa Miles. Miles, how's it going?
I would say like a top 5 favorite song of mine is called Twin Size Mattress. So that is very apt, Pete. Good job.
I'm glad to know that fact about you. And yeah, Pat.
Someday I'll be ready.
No,
It's okay.
Your void is like there is no void.
My void is that a void
He's void of
exists.
an intro.
If he
There-
doesn't have a
there's
void,
void.
that means he's
Avoided.
immune to the apocalypse virus.
Yeah, there you go.
which is-
which is better than he deserves.
There we go, baby. Oh, okay, wow, we're off to a fantastic start. Everyone loves me today. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't blame you. It's fine.
that I am. I know. Alrighty, guys. Cool stuff, everybody. We are starting with our discussion on Guilty Crown. So we'll start like normal. The show was aired in 2011 and 2012. It was a 22 episode show, so it's a two-core show made by Production IG, who are a little decently sized studio, done a couple shows in the past. Attack on Titan, Haikyuu, Psycho Pass, Finland Saga, among just only a couple others. So pretty notorious studio. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it. It's a little bit of a mecha show. It's a little bit of an action, drama, and romance show as well. And yeah, let's give our first impressions like we always do. Miles, why don't you start?
Yeah, sure. So I went into the show really kind of only knowing how it was pitched, which that it has like an ending people view is like not really great, and that might be like a good conversation topic. Little did I know that it also had a not so great beginning and middle, as well as the end. I just want to do a quick little bit here. I did not like the show. I did not like the plot. I did not like the world building. I did not like the characters. All in all, I had like a pretty good time though, and I really have been searching my soul for why I found this so okay to watch, despite it being so objectively poorly done. From like a script and character writing standpoint, the visuals and stuff for this show is like real good, and like especially for like 2011. So like, would I recommend this show? I mean, I don't know. Fucking knock yourself out. Like, just like go into it. I would say expecting exactly zero substance, and you might have a good time. You just really don't spend any time thinking about it, and you'll have a better time. And I don't know.
Really? Huh. I had a lot of fun thinking about this show, so this will
Okay.
be cool. Kat, what about you?
I am more or less in the same boat as Miles, but I have a little bit of a different take on it. I didn't. The visuals didn't make it fun to watch for me. That was one of the things that I didn't exactly like about the show. I mean, it wasn't terrible. They were okay, but like visuals don't save me when it comes to shows like this because there's uh I do spend a lot of time looking away because I have other things to do, especially when I'm watching in dub. So it doesn't help. I would definitely not recommend the show, mainly because the I'd recommend the show to somebody who I think would enjoy it, or somebody who is expecting nothing.
Okay. Cool. Great start, guys. Everyone loves this show, huh? Jay, what about you?
You're
You're
muted.
muted, buddy.
Yeah, you're muted.
I was trying to be so
Podcasters, by the
courteous.
way.
I was
I
trying to
know
be so
you were being very
courteous.
courteous. It's okay. It happens to all of us.
Anyway, I'm not gonna shit on the show. My first impressions. I'm probably gonna. I think everybody will be doing enough shitting on it besides Pat, more or less. So I'll go a little bit easier for now. I went into the show not really expecting a whole lot. I think that the first it has moments of brilliance in like the first 8 episodes for me where like some good stuff happens, but then there's just some low points. Like it has high points. The high points are not good enough to make up for the more numerous low points is the TLDR of it for me, more or less. What I will say is Shu is a pretty well written character in the fact that he is a teenager who is whiny and sucks. And they did that proper. Like he acts like a shitty teenager at
I
the
think
start at
I
least,
I
and they
agree with
did
that.
that well.
Mm,
Um I don't know, like would I recommend it? Like I think a certain type of person would really enjoy this. Like if somebody enjoys like the conspiracy angle and stuff like that, then I think they would probably like this too. So I think depending on the type of person you are, I would recommend it. But to most people, it would have to be somebody who I specifically knew was into that sort of thing, more or less. So for the most part, no, I wouldn't recommend it.
gotcha. Alrighty, Johnny, what about you?
All right, so everyone else is still saying like some negative things, but like I will say some good things about the show, such as I think the art style looks very pretty for the time. I think the voice acting, I watched it in dub, I watched it in sub. Sorry, I think it was one of the really good parts about the show, and yeah, like there are a lot of really good things about the show that like I feel like if they just managed to put it together comprehensively in a way that made sense, this would be a really good show. It's just that what I feel like they did is that so this is an anime original. I'm imagining they just had a bunch of really cool ideas they wanted to make a show out of, but then they didn't have any like they didn't know how to put it all together. And then this is what happened because like some individual things about the show are really nice, but then it just falls apart when you just think about it and just realize this plot doesn't make any sense. So like I feel like if you don't really care about the details of like what's actually going on and just think like this is like and just go into the show for like the spectacle and whatever, like this is actually a really good show for that because like, again, it looks very pretty. The character designs are nice and all that. So like if I would recommend this, honestly, like for if someone's like new into anime and like doesn't really like look deep into shows that much, I would say it's quite a recommend. But yeah, like there's definitely bad things about the show that I want to talk about later. But it's just like I honestly don't think it's as bad as people like as bad as some people here say.
Johnny. I knew you were the you were always
All
on
right,
my
where's my
side.
$10?
Yeah. It's Venmoing coming to you, and
I don't have Venmo. I'm in
I
Canada.
know that
Cash
was the
App is
joke.
Cash App is the superior service. Cash
That
App, not sponsored by Cash App though.
no, that was the joke though, Johnny. But I'm glad you got it and made it awkward by me having to explain it, but it's okay. Pete, what about you? What do you think about Guilty Crown? God, I almost guilty geared it. It's Guilty
Yes.
Crown.
The voice of the people has returned. I'm gonna mimic Johnny just a little bit. To me, I felt like that this show was trying to take tropes and themes and storylines of like 8 different anime and kind of like jumble it all into one. I got vibes of Darling in the Franxx, even though I know that show didn't come out yet. We got like JoJo, Gurren Lagann, someone just like Code Geass. Like I felt like we were getting a whole bunch of different vibes of shows that did things well, and then try to integrate into this original. And it was just like a hodgepodge of just like them trying to do a bunch of things instead of doing one thing really. I would recommend this show if you gave Darling in the Franxx a 9 or higher. If you are 16 or younger. I think that's like the prime demographic for the show, because I feel like if I was 16, I would love this show. Like I would give this a 10. But I'm not. I'm a grown ass man. Act 16. But there we go, Miles. Yep.
Just gonna caveat that as well, but all right, go ahead.
Yeah. But I would just, to the majority of the people, I would not recommend this show. It's I think we'll talk about it a lot. There's just a lot of things missing that I wish they just wrapped up a little bit of, and that they didn't wrap up at all.
Yeah, all right. And I'll give my thoughts as well. I'm gonna sound like I'm defending the show a lot. Where I can, most of the time I agree with most people's criticisms of it. I think there's a lot missing, and it's frustrating at times with what isn't there. Like you said, there's like the hodgepodge of different things, different elements that it tries to pull from other shows, and I think it does it really well with certain elements, but it doesn't with a lot of them. I think I will end up liking a lot more of the things going on than other people did, but I think that might have been because I went in expecting the show to end in a dumpster fire, and I didn't really feel that way. I felt like it I feel like it had strong points throughout the entire show too. Like I went in expecting a fantastic first like 5 or 6 episodes, and then it just like slowly drops into whatever, like just awfulness, right? Because it's a very popular show for something that is so, it seems like universally recognized as having like a bad ending. That's the general vibe that whenever you hear people talking about the show online or on forums or anything, it's the ending sucks. Oh, the ending's bad, whatever. But I don't know. I thought that the show had its peaks and valleys, which are both very, very deep and tall at different points in the show, throughout all of the episodes. So I'm excited to discuss this though, because I think there's a lot going on here. I think there's a lot of, like we said, there's so many different elements and things that they pulled from different shows that I think it'll be a lot of fun to talk about. So now, going forward, there will be spoilers for Guilty Crown. And oh yeah, I guess my recommendation, I would recommend this. Pete made a good point. Young audiences are going to love this, right? Where they can feel like they're power fantasy tripping with the main character a little bit. But I also think, I don't know, again, I was able to find enjoyment in it, even though I was frustrated by it. And I think almost everyone here said that they at least enjoyed watching it in some way, other than maybe Kat, I think. But even then, I think he enjoyed parts of it. So I would recommend it to most people, with the caveat that you're going to be upset with it at times, and that's okay. I think that's something that that's going to happen to anyone that watches this. So yeah, let's get started. So once again, spoilers are off now. We can talk about how the 13th angel from Ava descends from the skies and
Yes,
blows up the planet.
They seek to bring upon the third impact. Sorry, the fourth apocalypse. And
well, that is an actual thing though, because the first 3 apocalypses have already happened on Earth, so that's what the fourth apocalypse would be. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm ready. I'm ready for war.
You're ready for war? Okay, I'm just gonna throw some stuff at you then, and if anyone else wants to comment on this, let's see why.
I'm so chill.
I'll be Switzerland.
Yeah, I'm just.
So let's start at the end. Why
Great
did they
place to
bring
start.
Kenji back to betray them for that hack battle with Sagumi, and then give him no lines and then just shoot him?
Kenji, is that the
he's the
he's
psycho
the super
hacker.
psycho hacker guy. Okay, so they brought
I
him
think
back
he's
because
literally
he's
just a psychopath who.
But he was
like,
on their team, and then he
He was
has a
on-
conversation with Shu about how
He's on-
Shu's the actual bad guy during his confrontation with Guy at the beginning. He comes off as like a very grounded human being, and then he just flips sides after we don't see him for 2
my
months.
understanding is that he was always
He starts off being in jail for like doing a bombing that killed like 30 people or
Which
something.
they never
like that.
explain, by the way, why he did that. It's just that, he did this, by the way.
Yeah, it's
My-
not even necessarily related to
Let's let-
funeral parlor. He was just in
What?
jail.
Okay,
I
let's
think it's pretty
let's
clearly
yeah.
related. They call him an ally. He must have been part of funeral parlor before
Okay,
he
but,
got
like-
thrown in jail. Let me explain it. Thank you. I interpreted him as someone that was fiercely loyal to Guy, the person Guy, and not necessarily loyal to funeral parlor as a group. That's the way I interpreted him, which is why I didn't interpret it as a double cross. I more saw it as him just picking a side and sticking with it and doing what the person who the only person who he respected in that group was Guy, right? Like he's the only person that he talked to, ever took orders from, or did anything with. So that's how I interpreted him. Like you said, the hack battle. Was it weird that it was just randomly him? I guess, but like, okay, wouldn't it also be weird if some other random person that we had never seen before
You could
was
just
at
not
the-
have that scene.
was that not at the levels of what was the hacker girl going to do though during that build up? Oh, just sit there and do nothing? Like I don't know.
I
like,
mean,
Probably
like
some
you
fan
again,
service.
you're
She like hacked into their system, so like.
yeah, the fan service in those scenes was always very weird. We can talk about fan service later though. But like, all right, that's one battle,
Sure.
Miles. Okay,
So with
I'll call
that-
that a draw, maybe.
I looked him up on the wiki, and literally first of all, it's just like he's a mass murderer, infamous terrorist, and then they're just like he was previously held in prison before being rescued by funeral parlor because they never explain shit in this series.
Okay.
That's all.
Well,
they got
in the
about him.
series, they said that he's an ally, and that's why they rescued him.
yeah,
So
he
that's-
was with them in like episode 5 or so. Like he was there for a while. Because he's like antagonistic towards Shu, so I kind of liked him because like anyone who was mean to Shu, I was like a big fan of.
Mhm.
But okay, so with other betrayals happening, why does Guy betray Shu and all of them? And I don't accept his answer of I wanted to betray you guys so that you could beat me and prove how strong you were to do
right,
it.
like the very end, like the
yeah, like
asshole
that,
oh, yeah,
doesn't
no.
count. That's not a real answer.
I mean, I think if that is the real answer, it has to be like hinted at or shown throughout the series better. If that's the right answer, I don't know. Maybe it's not actually him that was in control. Maybe it was Adam in control, or the spiritual, like what they wanted Adam to be. That's the way I interpreted that scene, or his rebirth in general, right? And that it was a calculated risk by his mother gone wrong to some extent, right? Because she's the one who brings him back, so to speak, or the scientists all bring him back, right? I don't know, but go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, so he never changes because he says to like the lead scientist at funeral what is it,
Parlor.
parlor
Yeah.
that like this was always his plan, which by the way is false because at the start of the show he says that I was supposed to get the void genome, meaning that Shu never was supposed to be part of the plan.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So, like what he says doesn't miss, and also like about the guy that was like a mass murderer or anything, like the fact, like I guess like what you said is true that like yeah, it could just be like some random bad guy. The issue is they made him seem like he was important. They dedicated a whole episode to breaking him out, and then what did he do for the show? He showed up in one scene and then just at the very end, and then nothing else happened, and they dedicated a whole episode to him.
Yeah, so I get that, but I also think that part of that was the facade, right? Was that they were pretending that he's the person they're rescuing. So it was almost like a double bait where they pretended that at first the episode makes you want to think, oh, they're going to try to rescue Shu, right? Like that's their goal. But then it's actually that they're rescuing this person, right? But I think at the end of the day, once you reflect on it, it's like, oh no, they actually were trying to save Shu, or at least use him in some way to gain a leg up and to prove their power, to prove their strength to the antibodies. Is that what they're called? The antibodies, which I thought
Yeah.
was really clever. That was pretty clever.
Government.
Yeah, okay, that was kind of clever. But like, didn't they only save Shu because Inori ran off to try to save him for some reason?
I think they saved him because he had the
Well,
arm
he has the
thing.
void genome. They need
Yeah,
to,
they
which
need
does
him.
I
lead
guess,
me.
but, like,
It is literally called the Guilty Crown, his power. So
Yeah, well, which is I thought was clever, but you know, it is.
me and Miles like actually had a mental breakdown yesterday over how dumb the title
Well, I just thought it was
Really?
very like you know how you don't like that scene at the end of Akudama Drive because they're like, get it, he's Jesus. It's like, or she's Jesus. To
Yeah.
me, the Guilty Crown was like very similar to that. It's like, get it, he's
Oh.
absolving their sins,
Oh.
he's taking it on.
wait.
Right.
First of all, no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but his dad's name is literally Cross. Like I need that to be abundantly clear. His father's name is literally Cross, and if
Well,
you're
Shu's
gonna
name
do a
is
Jesus
together, right?
metaphor,
Like-
make him die at the end.
That's a good point. Jesus did die for our sins. He
That's
did come
the
back though.
whole fucking point.
But okay, so how come they had an issue at the beginning? Funeral Parlor did that. Shu, I'm gonna say pretty understandably, I actually kind of liked this. Didn't really want a lot to do with them, despite the fact that he had the power. Right? That
Yep.
was the thing that I liked because I think it's pretty realistic for your like borderline incel-y teenager to not want to be in a terrorist organization. He's like too busy being sad that Inori didn't touch his hand or whatever. And like that's how I would have reacted at 16. However, it turns out they had a trump card the entire time, which was just explaining to him and like trying to jog his memory in any way about their shared past and what this was about as far as putting his sister's soul to rest. So why do you think they didn't try that at all and waited for him to remember it on his own, losing vital hours in the process of trying to save Inori?
I think you could argue that that's a story that if someone told me that that was why they needed my help, I might be like, what the fuck, that's bullshit, or I might react poorly and psychologically be damaged by that.
I just think you got to give it a go. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that like if they had tried to say it and he's like, I don't believe you or something like that, but like Guy was like very like or if Guy didn't remember because of whatever various testing and stuff, but Guy was like, oh, you finally remembered that we were best friends for like 2 years or whatever. I don't know. I guess like we don't need to go
Adopted
through each of these,
siblings.
but it's like things like that where they just have these huge bends in the plot kind of out of nowhere to make it seem like the plot was 3D chessing you. But like when you think about it, it's really like they're playing like Mancala or something.
Yeah, well, a lot of the twists are not. I agree. I think some of them are set up really well, but I agree that there are a lot of them that are not set up or hinted at in any way. So I think that is a very fair and valid criticism of the show, where a lot of the what do you call it? The
Plot twist.
plot twists, yeah, the plot twists that are meant to be like super impactful too, like meant to be this like gigantic reveal. They do come out of nowhere, and some of them get explained after the fact decently well, but usually with good psychological political dramas and things like that, you can at least somewhat see the story or see
the
where the
twist
story's
happens
going.
and you go, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Like the Sixth
Yeah.
Sense. Like when you're like, oh my god, it all makes sense now. And it does the flashback with all of the interactions and stuff, and you're like, this all was perfectly crafted from the beginning. Holy shit. This one, like the only time I remember being like, oh, this twist, like I actually said thank God, was when his mom wasn't his actual mom. Because like they sort of played that up as a twist, but I was just like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
that makes me so relieved based on their relationship.
Can I just like say like one thing in particular?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I still don't understand why like his name Kendo is like his Shu's father's friend. I don't understand why he was so pissed off at his father that he literally just shoots him.
Because
So-
here's the thing. In
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but incest is a big part of this show. So I'm assuming he just really was mad that he got NTR'd with his own sister. I think
Wait,
that
what?
was what. I
I
think
don't
that's
think you're
what
understanding
came
what he's
out.
saying.
No, Jay's making a joke. Jay is
No,
saying
no.
that he got shot because he was in love with his sister, and he was shooting the
Oh my
dad
God.
because of whatever. So
Oh.
honestly, him shooting like someone getting jealous of someone's like business or like success in their career that has overshadowed your own when you decided to like go against
Yeah.
them that's like a pretty okay motivation. I think that when
To
he
that
then
level.
decided in order to
Yeah, to
spite
that
him
level.
he
You
would
were-
then end the world, that was taking it a bridge too far for me, but shooting him I thought was fine.
I thought that.
It's just,
Yeah,
there's
you.
nothing about his character. Like, I guess to be fair, the flashback was like 5 minutes long, so we didn't really see much of his character. But like, nothing about his personality said anything about like how he would go to that length.
Well,
to,
you
like,
knew
do
that he
something.
was, for whatever reason, trying to bring along the end of the world, so
Oh,
you have to know that he's insane.
Yeah, so like, is that his
That's
defense?
so
Is just insanity?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very
Yeah.
bitter and shitty person. I don't know. I don't have any
I don't
issue.
think that's a good defense. Like,
It's not. He's a bad person though. It's not like people haven't shot other people because they were jealous of their careers.
I know. I just think it's really dumb.
I don't know. I don't view that as a thing that I think is really dumb. I think it's a little dumb that he then tried to end the world because of his beef with this guy after he killed him. Like, I think if I had a huge beef with someone, just like murdering them would be enough for me. But like
I'm gonna sleep with one eye open tonight.
I was gonna say, good
Yeah,
to know.
leave a comment in the description below if you would just kill somebody and then stop there, or would you continue and end the world? Let
after
us
you
know.
have
Leave
murdered
it- keep
your
address as
rival.
well.
Like if you would stop at murder, and retweet if you would go further.
There we go.
That's
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Join the
Be sure
Discord
to
if you
hit
would end
that
the world.
bell.
Yeah.
I would do it twice.
There we
that's
go.
I don't know. I think that like for me, basically, I would. Have you seen the newest Star Wars trilogy, Pat?
Yes, the newest one. Yes.
Yeah. So you know how in Rise of Skywalker, it literally just starts with somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. Which I didn't mind as much as other people. but yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, that's fair enough because I like The Last Jedi. Who am I to?
I like the
complain
Last
about
Jedi too.
You know what?
It's
Fuck
as
it.
bad as people say.
I'm going to defend Guilty Crown now. Guilty Crown's good.
Thank you.
How much money do you pay him this time?
No, he just liked The
None.
Last Jedi.
I've never paid
That's
him.
clearly someone
I
with good
don't-
taste. Jay, what's up?
I want to talk about the characters, all right?
Yeah, we should do that.
I'm going to do a top-down rundown real quick. So we got Shu, who he is literally any way the fucking wind blows. Can we just be real about that?
Mhm.
Like, his character just changes at a whim, more or less, so many times depending on who is in his ear. Specifically, if Yahiro is in his ear at all. Like,
I can't believe I'm about to do this, but Jay, let me just defend Shu for a second.
my man literally became Hitler.
I
My man-
understand. I understand
He
that.
he opened
let
a
me defend him.
concentration camp.
I'm in Pat's corner for 1 fucking minute of this goddamn discussion. Let me help him.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so Shu, you got to think about this. Like, let's think about young 16-year-old Miles. Pre whatever's going on in his life, pre-sex, like current pubescent Miles. Do you think Miles would have enough sense of self at that age to not listen to everybody that's inside of his ear?
Are we
I don't
saying
think
that
he
I
would make
would?
a concentration camp.
Thank you,
Miles,
thank
would you
you,
have made a
Jay.
concentration camp?
Miles could be manipulated. Miles could be manipulated to think about.
God.
Sorry, I looked at the Discord for a second. Miles could be manipulated to make a concentration camp without thinking that he was Hitler.
Okay.
He would rate himself as a higher human being than Hitler until he realized that he was Hitler.
What the?
I feel
that's a
like
hot
I've just been
take.
character assassinated.
That's
Yeah,
a
you did.
scalding ass take.
That's like defamation.
Your younger self has, but your current self has not.
So I
Don't
actually have a
take this the
defense for
wrong way.
this. I have a defense for this. For the way that Shu acts, because there was the Adam and Eve ideas. This is notice how Adam, or the person who was supposed to be Adam, is very easily influenced by whispers in his ear. Similar to a certain character in the story of Adam and Eve. As if there's like some
Eve,
outside
right?
influence.
Eve is the one who fucking fell for it.
but Adam also is to blame in some.
We all fell for it.
Correct. Well, okay. So I guess that's my point. Is that he?
Speaking of Eve, we got Zero Who over here, like just a waifu mascot. Argo literally comes in and calls her just a waifu mascot at one point, and he was
Like,
right.
in the dub.
More like he's
No,
like,
he says she has
he's
no
like,
personality.
Argo is like, and you, Inori, you're just doing whatever Shu wants. Then you're just falling in line with Shu, and it's like, yeah, that's her whole character actually. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's when he became like he became Stalin, like as Pat would say.
Well, the
No,
thing
I was calling Shu Stalin because I think.
Yeah, no, I was referring to Shu.
Okay, yeah, I
think
don't know.
I think Shu is definitely more aligned to Hitler because Berlin falls and shit, and we get to see him nearly gunned down in a ditch, which should have been the ending. That should have been the ending.
Never mind.
Yeah, so I guess like my issue with that, Pat, is that he is shown the consequences of that system immediately before he enacts the system, right?
Yeah, and he hates it, and he doesn't want to do it, and then
then he is shown the consequences of it, and then he enacts it.
And he has shown it. He doesn't like it. He says, "I don't want to do this," and then the person in his ear keeps whispering in his ear to do it, and then he snaps. He has a very life-changing, traumatic thing happen to him that he blames himself for, and also blames someone else for. The blame goes. He blames multiple people, himself and the F tier guy, whatever his name is, his best friend.
Sota.
Yeah. And he snaps. Very clearly
That's a crazy way to react, because if you think about that situation, so when he initially snaps, right, and he does the thing, and he like doesn't listen to Inori, and he just takes her void anyway, and then he just like murders the shit out of everyone. I'm pro that. But then you have to like think about things like after the fact, and when you think about why Sota did that and why Hare died, they died because that system got leaked, and they felt the need to prove themselves and put themselves in danger so they wouldn't be shoved in trucks. So then he decides to shove them all in trucks.
Well, but he didn't decide to do that until after he had snapped, and then the person was still in his ear, still telling him to do what he's doing, correct? And then he's very clearly lost it at that point, right? Like he is not in the mental capacity to lead, and instead is going to continue to be influenced
by the person who betrayed him earlier. Like that's the thing, the person he's listening to.
I agree with that it's bad, but he's listened to multiple people. He listens to class president. He listens to his best friend. He listens to Inori. He listens to I don't know. But that's 3-4 people there that he had already listened to in that episode where they are telling him, hey, maybe you should do it this way, and he like takes the feedback and does it. And then what I liked was that he realized that what he was doing was horrible, but he was trying so hard to be Guy, right? He was trying so hard to just separate himself from the situation and instead see it as like an active cause or something that he is trying to rally behind. And he's blind to how awful it is. He's not thinking about it necessarily that way. He's not thinking, good, we're exterminating the weaker class. But also his friend manipulates the system that way. He puts that into power because he knows everyone is afraid of Shu and everyone's going to listen to him right now, right? Like he knows that at the end of the day, he is the one that has the power to do something like this. So that's where I found it believable.
Well, he turns on Shu as soon as Shu buys into it, which was another weird thing, right? Because I will say, he was hiding information from Shu that made Shu, act a certain way, but
Willing
once
to
Shu
snap, right?
finds out that he has the ability to just murder people like kind of willy-nilly, he goes into a super egomaniacal laugh and then orders that everyone in the building who could have possibly heard this information be quarantined. And then the guy's like, "Oh, this is a bridge too far, buddy." Like,
Right.
we have the actual concentration camp set up already, but I don't know. Like, to me, the whole thing was very. It very much relied on Shu being like really dumb. No one at all standing up against it. Shu trusting essentially the one person in his inner circle who is proven to be non-trustworthy.
Yeah, that's fair. Pretty dumb.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a dumb teenager. But yeah, I agree. Very
well,
dumb.
Yeah, but I was a dumb teenager. But when I was a dumb teenager, even though Kat thinks I would set up concentration camps,
I didn't know you when you were younger, so
you just went on a whole thing.
I was making an analogy.
But I will say, like,
him as a child.
Think about how much getting like backstabbed by a friend sucked in high school, and how, like, how many times did you get backstabbed by a friend and then you were like, "And you're my vice president, let's go," like that didn't happen.
No, I was never president, but yeah, you're right.
I'm
kidding. I know.
So like, I'm not saying that the general story beats are bad. I think that you can absolutely modify things to make Shu become a little Hitler, like especially if you're willing to get Honori's hands dirty a little bit, because I could see him listening to her.
Her hands were kind of dirty. She was like, "I'm just gonna blindly listen to him," and you know what? Because he said it, he's right, even though she clearly didn't believe that. Although you could also then say, "Oh, wasn't one of the first times that we saw Demon Inori or Eve, so to speak, right? During that arc, I believe that she actually like shows herself with the class president character, right? She goes
That's
to start
Mana,
over.
though.
Mana, is that the
Yeah, that's Mana. Sorry, really quick, Jay, you had something to say on this topic.
Yeah, it's about Yahiro, or I think that was his name, right? His best friend?
His friend who betrays him and then they become friends again.
Sugar? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sugar daddy.
First of all, in the dub, that guy has a ridiculous voice too. He sounds like he talks like a guy from the 1950s in the dub for some reason. Like he sounds like an old man.
I did not notice that.
He should have gotten his ass beat a couple more times, I feel like. And while I was on that thought, I don't like the end scene because I don't like that Shu and him are allowed to hang out with the people that they just recently put into concentration camps for a bit. That's kind of weird, champ, that they were having lunch together. But yeah. I agree with your point about Shu being like, I think Shu himself is a well-written character in some ways, but because of the general kind of sloppy pacing of the plot, it affects how well it can be executed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Because like I feel like the transition isn't that big of a deal to me. The issue was how it was done. Because like it happens literally, like
he puts a
one
scarf
thing
on and he becomes evil.
and then he just instantly turns.
He puts
And,
a scarf on and becomes evil, basically.
Yeah, like okay, like obviously people can change, but it doesn't happen that quickly. Like, you don't go from being one person to a completely different person that fast.
I guess not. I don't know. I think if one traumatic thing happens to you, you might be driven hell bent on revenge or mentally unstable. That's the way I looked at it.
I mean,
But, like,
he was
it's
already
not
at
in
it.
this way,
I
though.
kind of understand it because he was already at like a breaking point with the fucking Exodus shit and whatnot.
The pressure of being a president, being a leader for the first time in his life, and actually
He's
having
not
people
that
respect him.
guy.
No, he's not. But
He's
he
not that
was put in.
guy.
He was elected to that position, and
You know who
feels
my
the
guy
pressure to be
is?
that
My
guy.
guy is Chad. I don't care what the show calls him. I don't care what you
He's
guys call
dead.
him. That is Chad.
Well,
Well,
no,
Dan or Guy?
guy.
Pre-resurrection Chad was. And yeah, shout out Dan Eagleman, by the way.
I love Dan.
Fuck's
Dan was
sake.
great.
Wait, now that I think about it. Yeah. Now that I think about it, couldn't Guy have just cut off Shu's arm as soon as he met him to get the void gene?
Yep.
Could he have just
Holy
done that?
shit! I mean, they could have just
Like, he
done
could've just done that the whole time.
Guy could have literally just murked Inori whenever she was getting out of the
Wait,
test
so,
tube. He
like,
found her, and they
either-
would have avoided this for a long time.
Either
For
this
their
guy is
lifetime,
playing.
probably.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry,
go ahead,
you were
go ahead, go
saying-
ahead, go ahead, go.
Like,
I was
either
saying that.
Jay,
Go
then
ahead.
Johnny.
Okay. Thank you, moderator. Guy could have just murked Inori straight out of the test tube, and it would have avoided. He says he's a social Darwinist, but he's not really about that action. Is how I feel. So, yeah.
I feel like that was like a buzzword. He's very like he feels the weight of all, like they have all of those scenes where he feels like the pressure and the weight of the lives that he has to risk and stuff.
Mhm.
There's that great scene where he's talking to his very loyal followers about how, they'll have to risk their lives for this. And then Shu is like, well, I'm not going to listen to you if you're willing to risk people's lives. And then everyone looks at him like he's the dumbest person alive because he was being the dumbest person. It's a terrorist organization. They didn't join it, not thinking they might have to die for the cause. Johnny, you had something to say.
Yeah, so like I was just saying, like, and this is just like about the whole premise of the show itself. It's like the guy is either like playing 5D chess in 5 different dimensions, or he's just like,
That's what 5D means.
or he just played tic-tac-toe, but like with only circles. Like I like I don't understand this guy's plan. It's like, was this all planned? Did he just make it all up? Like, is it really true that he meant for this all to happen?
I think it's just like an anime thing, and this is hardly the only show I've ever seen that's guilty of things like this.
Yeah, but like this takes it to such another level. It's just like, so like, was he and the antibodies working together this whole time?
No, because remember, part of his plan was to secretly be working, like he was working with the antibodies, but he was working against them the entire time he was working with them.
Yeah, and he also reveals at the end, like, his original plan, once Shu got involved at least, was to have Inori die with him when he told Shu to stab him and kill him. That was his plan. That was the original plan, was for the both of them to die and then the whole thing to be done, basically, right? Like, no Eve, no Adam anymore, done. But then God / whatever they call it in this story, eyebrow, Darth, yeah, whatever.
Darth Vader. So it is Star Wars.
Darsh.
Yeah. That character decides, Garth Brooks decides that the show can't be over yet, so they decided to keep it going, which
that is something I wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think that, because like honestly, if this show ended on like episode 11, I feel like I would have been way happier. Like,
oh yes,
I think
100% agree.
So I think it could have ended then, but then people would have wanted more because they introduced so many characters. Like, half of the cast of the terrorist organization don't really get a time to shine by episode 11, right? Like, they get their little moments, but they don't get their, like, crowning moment like Ayase does, or Hacker Girl, whatever. It doesn't get to be more than just like a joke side character until the end. So I think that's one way you could have ended the show, but they decided to do the Gurren Lagann way of pretending that the final boss is the final boss at episode 11, when at the end of the day it's actually like not for another. It's the final boss's final boss.
I have a very important question about Sugami, who is Hacker Girl.
Yes.
So is her hitting the button with her butt the best thing in the show or the worst thing with the show?
Oh, you already know my answer.
It was tough for me because I like giggled at that, and then I was like, I want to die, and then I giggled some more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the actual worst thing in the show was, I think it was the last episode when Ayase gets slammed into a fucking wall.
Yes, and her boobs.
They spend the entire budget on making both of her tits bounce independently of each other.
They did that multiple times in the show, to be fair, but yeah, that was.
But to do it whenever somebody is getting like, crushed against a wall by a giant robot, is like another level.
Honestly,
They did that during the fights though. Every fight, like it felt like she had that built-in physics. Which again,
I
I'm not
felt
defending
so-
the show.
I
I'm
get
not.
you.
I'm not.
I do get you. But like, it was so noticeable there that
Yeah.
me and my girlfriend who were watching it together literally turned to each other and just started laughing hysterically.
Yeah, I laughed
Like-
at it too. Like I was like, I can't believe that this is like, and that's where I said, like, I think I said in my intro at least, that the show, it's very anime at times. It's very like
Mhm.
very clearly knows that it's still an anime that's trying to sell to like the mass public with
Teenagers.
fan service,
Yeah.
teenagers, whatever. Which is why, I mean, yeah, why do her tits jiggle like that? That's one reason. Why does
You
Segumi
know
use her
why.
butt? Why does her butt? Well, I'm literally saying why,
Yeah,
Johnny.
that's what he said.
That's what I'm saying. The Segumi, why, or Hacker Girl, why does she slap her butt against the camera or the thing and like have, or why are there panty shot angles and stuff in the show? There are random butts in the faces of the point of view. It's like it's an anime.
There's a
like, and I
scene-
hate it, and you have to get over it. But that's anime when it's not
where
like
his
perfectly artistic.
mom, and Kat will get to you right after this, is walking, like, it's when she's decided to like defect, right?
Mhm.
And his mom up until this point had been like completely a joke character. So it was like,
yeah.
yeah, it was like a little weird to me to see her be so like badass, but I was like, oh, you know what? Cool. I can do this. But then as she's walking out, the camera is square on her butt.
I know.
And
Yep.
her labia are just pronouncedly visible in like the way that her suit is like tightened up. And it was just like the physics of these plug suits that the women wear, and I guess the men wear them too, but we don't see their junk jiggling everywhere, where they're skin tight and in theory durable, but they also offer no support, is truly magical. Kat, you had something to say.
Well, wait. Sorry. Just on that point, Miles. You are a Miranda and Mass Effect fan, so I thought that would have made her best girl for you, since that's all we got out of Miranda in that series. Was
You know what?
the
We can talk about this after the show.
let's
Jackie,
go,
Kat, you had something to say.
I would like not. I will join into that conversation afterwards. But I have come up with a kind of synopsis of why this show is faring so badly when it comes to discussion. This show was not made for discussion. The people that made this show were not expecting people to talk about it. They were expecting people to watch it, be like, I know what's happening, and then keep it moving. But the fact that they did not understand that people would kind of hate the show because of the ending, or hate the show because of the content, I think that baffled the studio when they were thinking, you know what, let's add this, let's add that, let's add this, let's add Hitler, let's add God and Bible shit that barely connects to anything. And I think that worked out for like lonely high school kids that didn't have any friends that liked anime. You have friends that like anime, Johnny.
You're assuming I have friends
We are your friends.
in high school?
Cat,
Anyways,
Cat,
continue.
Cat, you're telling me that a studio that puts millions of dollars into an original intellectual property and debuts it on national Japanese television did not expect people to talk about this show?
Yes.
Well, the plot, maybe. I
think
I could buy into the fact that they mostly just wanted people to talk about like visuals and
They wanted them
egoist
to talk about
music.
egoist. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. They
Like-
didn't want people to care about the small details such as plot or
Yes.
common sense.
Are we
Yeah.
shitposting right now, or are we serious? I can't.
No, I'm dead
The
serious.
plot
very
is
serious.
of both.
I don't know. I'm trying to. So these are the same people who helped write Code Geass, which is a show that I liked that also makes no sense. So like, I like a lot of these. Like, I was actually trying to think this through because like, this is very similar to Code Geass. This is very similar to Neon Genesis Evangelion. To certain extents, all three of these shows make absolutely no sense. And I was like really curious, like in my head, thinking about like, why does something like this that makes no sense not really resonate with people? And like, why does something like Neon Genesis Evangelion, which also really doesn't make a ton of sense in various parts. It very much similarly has like ass pulls and plot devices and Deus Ex Machina moments and things like that. And to me, I think it just comes down to like the character consistency and stuff like that. Like Masato and the mom are similar in a lot. Like I think the mom is like very clearly supposed to be like a Masato-esque character, but like you don't really get the depth of the characters in this. And I think that's ultimately where it's like, I'm going to say fatal. It's not the worst thing we've ever watched. Flaw is because historically I've been able to put up with a whole bunch of nonsense if I think it leads to like cool characterization and character moments and things like that. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that, Johnny.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree that a lot of the issues is because I think this show has too big of a cast. Because like, does anyone remember like the mad psycho pilot that everyone said was the best pilot in the world, and it
Daryl?
lost every single fight? Yeah, Daryl.
Yeah, he's my least favorite character.
Worst
character.
Also, why did he get saved at the end? Why did
Yeah.
they have a redemption moment for
Yeah,
him?
see that's the thing. Is like the show's trying to do too much. Whereas it's like it's all not making sense, and then also like the characters, as you said, they're not as fleshed out. It's like Inori is like the definition of waifu bait, honestly.
Yeah,
It's like Shu, like compared to the rest of the characters, probably had the most development. Like I think like Shu, Guy, and like Hare are like the only people that, and I guess Ayase a little bit that like.
As I say, I loved ISA myself.
Like they got like a bit of development to the point where like, oh, you see this person as like, you see this character as like an actual person instead of just like a dumb trope.
Yeah, every time the show made me want to love ISA, though, it then also did things like make her boobs jiggle, or like,
Yeah, well, it's
have
ISA
her-
deserves a better show, like a show
Yeah,
that treats her better.
I agree.
a show that gives her legs.
That was
No,
she doesn't
no.
need that's
Give her
the
legs, just give her character.
This show
Hulk
does
is
act.
literally legs.
The show literally gives her legs, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so, like,
well then Shu
Probably.
takes him for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
fair.
So this show has not only the main character becoming a Nazi, but also has the main character stealing the legs of a crippled girl.
That is technically what happens. Yes.
I suppose so, if you want to phrase it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Um.
And
that-
kiss a sister.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, Kat, do you still think Shu's Miles?
Let's not.
I will apologize, Miles. I did not know you as a child, so I cannot say that.
Thank you.
Appropriate that to myself as a child because I was very gullible.
I was easily influenced as a child. I also was like, and I still am, but have worked on it since then, even more contrarian than I am now as a child. I will say, I don't think there's a situation you could have put me in where I would have started a concentration camp. And maybe I wouldn't have been elected president, but I also wouldn't have started a concentration camp. So,
That's a
yes,
very
applause for that.
bold-
So, how
I was gonna
brave
say, that's
of
a
me.
bold
It's a
brave
bold
statement.
stance.
Brave moment.
I
I-
thought it was an award.
Oh, goodness.
I
Okay.
feel that if it was put to me in a better phrase, I
You saying
would
you
not
accidentally could?
I could have been persuaded to if I did not make the connection, which
That's
I
kind
have
of what
been,
happened to Shu.
I had
but
been
yeah.
known to do. But I'm smarter, and I'm working on recognizing patterns now. So that is much harder to do for me now.
Okay, Kat.
It's
So
much
look
harder
here.
for me
So
to
what,
start a
so-
concentration camp.
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up. It's gonna be a camp, and we're going to concentrate a certain group of people there for labor and such. I
So,
think that'll
anyways,
give them-
about the show Guilty Crown, before we have Jay pitching how to start a concentration
Bring
camp
it
Yeah.
for
back
our
to
audience.
Germany.
I was gonna suggest that we move on to maybe our best characters or best boy, best girl, something along those lines to keep the conversation moving since we are approaching.
I do not endorse concentration camps.
We're
Just
doing
before
both?
we get on
None of us
out
do.
of that.
Why don't
Yeah,
you do? I think best. There's enough boys and girls in this show. I think that we can
Yeah,
do one
you
of
do
each.
both.
For sure.
All right, Miles, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Jay, I'm gonna steal your thunder. I apologize.
Damn you.
Best boy is Dan Eagleman.
That's
You're
He's-
actually
rolling
my best
thunder.
boy.
What a
Go ahead.
last name.
He stole every scene that he was in. He made me proud to be a dumb American who tries to shoot ground-to-air missiles sideways. He was like the scene where like you find out he wasn't in on any of it and he's just like defending the mom because like, oh god, I loved that. You
Yeah.
know,
Great character. American
Yeah.
values, baby. There you go. Love
It's-
him.
he was just super fun and super charismatic. Like I thought he was good. If I had to pick another character to like, I guess it would be like pre-resurrection guy. I think post-resurrection guy got like a little too like 40s for me. But pre-resurrection guy I liked a lot because he was a very practical person. He was a good leader. Like he messed up sometimes by not using his words to express to Guy what they were trying to do, but it's an anime, not to Guy, to Shu what they were trying to do, but it's an anime, and honestly, people never use their words, so I can hardly hold it against him. My worst girl is Sagumi. My best girl is Sagumi. I will not elaborate any further.
Hi. Okay, Kat, what about you?
So I had been thinking about this for a little bit. I will have to say that my best boy would probably have to be pre-resurrection guy because pretty much the same reason why it was Miles's. Uh, but I think my best girl, on the other hand, would have to be I think it would have to be ISA, mainly because ISA was. There were moments where like it felt like she was getting some decent representation as a crippled person. And then there were moments where, she got her leg stolen, she was getting hit into a wall, or she was getting stabbed, and she was either looking like she was about to have an orgasm, or her tits were, defying physics. Handshaker style. Not that bad, though. But I did like ISA's kind of disabled representation. So that's why she's my best girl. Worst boy is Shu. Worst girl is probably Anori because
Yeah. Okay.
um
There you go.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Alrighty, Jay, what about you?
I'm gonna best girl. Pretty much all the female characters in the show fell flat in one way or the other for me. I'm gonna go with Ayase as well, but I'm going to say she's not good disabled representation in how the show presents her. I'm gonna echo my sentiment earlier and say that Ayase is a good-ish character that deserves a better show that treats her in a way that isn't disgustingly ableist in nearly every episode. Pretty much all of Ayase's episodes involve like plot points involve her getting either immobilized or something at some point. Her void is literally hey, she doesn't have legs, so she doesn't have the ability to walk, so her void gives her the ability to run and do acrobatics that the rest of the cast can do with just their regular legs. As for best boy, so yeah, fuck how they treat Ayase in the show. As for best boy, I'm gonna go with Hat Guy. Hat Guy is someone you may have not noticed.
Hat Guy ruins it at the end.
No, Hat Guy was good whenever he was like, "You're not Kill 'Em All Daryl. That's not you." And then he closes "Don't be Kill 'Em All Daryl in your next life. That's not you." And then closes the door and gets fucking mercilessly gunned down. Like, I thought Hat Guy was pretty cool, honestly. Like, that was
I
I thought
liked
it
him
was
too.
And you know what? I'm gonna say it. I actually did not mind Killamoldero either. I thought he was a pretty interesting character. I think what they were doing at the end there was with him. I specifically feel like he was second season bait with his like surviving and shit to be an antagonist or something in the next season if they had one. But I don't know how you have a next season after Jesus literally saves the entire world from the crystal apocalypse. So yeah,
Alright.
best girl Ayase, best boy hat guy.
Best girl, I thought you said worst.
No, he said
She's
he really liked her, just didn't like the way she was.
Oh,
I like her
I
a
thought you
lot,
said
but
both. Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
she did no yeah. She deserves better though, for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, Johnny, what about you?
Yeah, so like obviously like I was thinking for about Ayase too, but it's like I don't like it when a character is like has like a noticeable disability in a show and that they bring so much attention to it. Like this is gonna sound really bizarre, but like have you guys seen the Shazam movie?
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so like in that movie, so like Shazam's best friend is like he has crushes, but like that's never like a big part of the show. It's just that he just happens to be he just happens to have a disability,
Yeah.
and it's like you know like he doesn't like he makes fun of himself as well as like he's not like embarrassed about it, and you know like and it's not like a major plot like it is here where they literally give her a void, they gives her legs, so like I just like maybe some people like that, but like for me I think it's just like yeah, it's the point where like you're trying to tell a message, and it's just like that doesn't really
Yeah.
ring with me that well. So like for me, my best girl is gonna have to be Haru because like I not I guess I like the fact that like she liked the guy and actually like did something about it instead of just like waiting around hoping that something good would happen. So like that's I guess that's mostly the reason. And also like her death scene was kind of sad, even though the story she told was like really dumb, and that king has no sense of how economics work, which I guess he got what he deserved. So yeah, and for best boy, along with everyone else, yeah, I'm just gonna pick Guy. Even though like you know he did his 5D chess plan really turned out just to be like a 1x1 Rubik's cube, but like you know he at least made it seem like he had a really good plan. And then like you know like he also just looked really cool, you know, did a bunch of cool stuff and like appeared really human. Yeah, so like that's my best boy.
All right. Pete, what about you?
So for me, I had a really hard time like finding like a character I could really resonate to and like really latch on and have like a good time with. It was originally the mom, and then they showed like her backstory, and I kind of started disliking her when she's like, I like he doesn't cook or sleep, so I have to marry him. I'm like, all right, like you kind of fell off for me there.
So you're gonna drop Wodakoi, your score for that.
I already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sagumi, like her, I kind of like you, Miles, liked her and disliked her at the same time. Like, hey, my personality is I wear cat ears. It's like, okay, like I didn't really like resonate. Ayase, I had my issues with it, but you guys talked about it enough. So I think kind of by default, I'm gonna go with Hare. Just because yeah, she shot her shot. She plot the plot in episode, and like I just had a really hard time with the female characters in this.
Yeah,
I,
they're all unnecessarily sexualized at one point or
yeah,
another.
it's just like it was really hard, and like a lot of like the powering scenes, I'll put it that way, were like male dominated. Fuck Daryl, the worst character in this show by like a mile. His trope is just like I'm evil. Look at me, I'm evil. It was just so bad. I guess my best male character, man, yeah, Dan Eagleman. That was a joy, and that's a bad thing where he should not be the best like boy or best male character for me, but that's just kind of how I view the show. Is it just I had a really hard time resonating with the past, so yeah, Dan and Hare are my top two characters.
Interesting. All right. I like Dan a lot, so I guess he would be one of the best boys too, right? Like he's a lot of fun. I also liked Segai, the very smart like
I like him a
doctor
lot, too.
character.
Yeah.
You know, he's cold, calculated, and brutal. He's not a good guy. You know, he's very like he was one of the more consistent characters. Although that's not saying much in this show, but he is one of the more consistent characters throughout the duration of the show. That he's very self motivated. He's very he wants to achieve the task that he wants to achieve, and he's also willing to be a spectator. He's willing to watch things happen and react to them, analyze them, see what's going on, and then move on to the next thing that he's doing in his plan. So I thought that was really cool. I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with a lot of you guys. I loved Ayase, and I loved it because I think the show actually did a pretty good job with her disability outside of the fan service parts where. But again, that wasn't just because she had a disability. That was because she was a girl in the show, and girls in anime aren't allowed to not have bodies that move in certain ways. I liked it because I felt like they were consistent with the void weapons. The void weapons were mainly centered around what a person wants in their hearts, and what I really liked is that she very clearly wanted to be able to walk, and it wasn't necessarily for one defined reason, but she had the motivation there for it to be something that aches in her heart, something that is holding her down, or that she perceives as the biggest issue in her life, right? So similarly, other characters had void weapons that were based on things that they did or things that they very, very much so wanted.
I just realized it was another Jesus metaphor.
Walking on water,
making a disabled person walk again.
Yeah, there. Okay, there you go.
Jesus
Cool.
parody.
Well, there you go. So, but anyways, to go back to what I was saying, I liked it because it not only was she able to walk in those scenes, and she was able to like see herself as being useful, but she also was given plenty of other moments of autonomy where she wants herself to be able to get into her own chair. There are things that, rather than making her like this damsel in distress, they gave her a lot of scenes where she ended up being resourceful, being a helpful person to the rest of the team, even though she felt like she wasn't useful or felt like she was a burden at times. So that's where I stand on her. I thought that I actually really liked her a lot in that character, in that sense, and also as just a character in general. I thought she was I don't know, maybe it's because she was like kind of like the tsundere, but not full tsundere. Like I guess that's dere, right? Where it's a little bit in between. Because like Sugumi was the obvious like full tsundere, right? Like, oh, you idiot, bleh, bleh, whatever, like the annoying one. I liked Ayase's personality a lot too. I thought she was really fun. Worst characters, worst girl. I don't really even know. I don't really want to call Inori like worst girl because I thought that they did some interesting things with her, especially when she started to realize she was losing her mind or losing her control of her body. But I can't really think of anyone else. I guess Tsugumi. Yeah, Tsugumi was really freaking annoying at times, but she was also really funny. So kind of made up for it a little bit there. And then worst boy. I agree. Daryl felt like he didn't have his story finished. Like, yeah, oh, you get saved, and it's like the hat guy saves him, right? And it's like, oh, so how is he gonna help Shu like finish the battle or win the battle or something? It felt like they were setting up for him to do something, and then yeah, he doesn't do anything beyond where he was in the elevator. So I don't know. I guess that's where I guess he gets worst boy because he gets no closure. So yeah, let's move on to our final thoughts and scores. So Miles, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. This show's like, I don't know, it's interesting to me. There's a lot of issues with it. Ultimately, it was like kind of like a wild ride though. Like I think that someone had mentioned that the pacing was bad, and I kind of think that I disagree because I think it was paced in such a way that like even after I thought of how dumb something was, something new happened, and so I stopped thinking about how dumb the previous thing was. Um, so I got invested in whatever the new thing was. Um, I I like some of the characters for like some percentage of the time. I thought that they weren't super consistently written. Something we didn't mention that I just wanted to highlight really quick was like Arisa's character, who was the student council president lady, and how she just like randomly starts simping for Guy like really, really hard. When Guy comes back, they had like alluded to them being like kind of having some sort of something earlier, but then like she overthrows Shu's tyrannical government, and then once Guy comes up, she like literally like tail between her legs follows him around in a very.
Doesn't she get held hostage by him at that beginning, or right when he comes back? He kind of like grabs her and is like, "You have to do what I say" or something. I thought that's what happened.
No,
Maybe
she follows him voluntarily, and then he doesn't talk to her at all. And then some like random assistant person is like, "Guy has decided that you've done enough to be in his army," and then she kills her grandfather.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
I could have sworn I remembered her like in that big, meteor or moment, like at the at like 13 or 14 or whatever. Or no, it was probably later than that. I thought I remember her being like on the ring, like the outside ring, and her being like grabbed by him or held hostage or
no, she's
threatened
very
for him.
voluntarily about it.
Yeah, no, she gets offered like a rank and shit, and she just like she looks kind of surprised, but she doesn't protest it or anything. I
Yeah.
will say also top 10 moment or top 3 moment in that show is when all the voids are being taken away and she's using her shield to block gunfire and she immediately gets shot like twice in the side and falls over. That shit also made me like laugh. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And also, there were some cool moments that were hype in this too. Guy cutting off Shu's arm was actually like a really hype moment. Because that was like something that happened with like very easy to like I calculate consequences and stuff. Oh god, what to score this show? Oh god, I guess I'll just skew high. I'll say 6 right now. I think that could go down to a 5. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate watching it. Like I enjoyed watching it despite how terrible it was. I think I'll just give it a 6.
Miles, I think that's a very fair score. I don't think I'm going to complain about it. So, Kat, what about you?
For me, this show was running down my feelings throughout the show. They ranged from, hey, this show has some promise, to very more often, if I was just watching this show by myself, I would have dropped it long ago, to, oh god, I missed what was going on throughout some of the show because I was too busy thinking about how I hated the show. And then to some moments where I was like, okay, the show's got me back into it, and then it just got me back right where it was before. But then again, that's what I think a lot of us felt throughout the show. For me, this show, let's see. So a lot of the like unnecessary a lot of the
Fan service, go ahead.
fan service. Thank you, because I forgot the word. A lot of the fan service was very ill placed, like you guys had said. I also didn't like some of the biblical references when they were just like shoehorned in. Like, I mean, I haven't watched Code Geass or Neon Genesis Evangelion, so I don't know how I'm gonna feel about those. But in this show, it didn't feel like it did it well. And I like once we got to the Hitler moments, I was just kind of detached from the show, and I was just kind of like trying to make sure that I could understand just enough that I could have this discussion. Um, so I'm just, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is this show is probably about a 4 for me, and I I am probably like on the low side here. But this seems to be what's happening every single time that I really dislike a show. I just tend to try and tune it out, and apparently I'm getting better.
Fair enough. All right, Jay, what about you? You're muted if you're talking. There you go.
I'm not muted. I was just sighing to myself about Guilty Crown. First of all, Pat, we could have watched Pretty Derby or fucking Vinland Saga instead of this bullshit.
I will agree with half of that statement.
One of those could have been fun to watch. The other, yeah, maybe not so much.
Or Fate Apocrypha.
We could have even watched. I would have even. I would have even preferred to watch Fate Apocrypha
Let's not
to this shit.
say things we can't take back, Jay.
I'm
He's getting the band hammer ready.
Look,
Listen, I
at
just
least with Fate
nominated something.
Apocrypha, I can go look up some Astolfo monster cock images after I'm done. With this, there's nothing.
I'll find some
Nothing.
shoe monster cock images for
can
you, okay?
definitely find some like.
Anyway,
I have some on
so my
deck.
review of this shit. It starts off with some flashes of brilliance at points. I like the way that they did voids to begin with. I just feel like the format of this would have been better in a video game or like a movie or some shit, because it really does turn into a bad action movie after his mom defects when she's on like the fucking motorcycle and the plug suit and shit. Like, the characters are pretty inconsistently written. Shu is written like decently well, but he fucking goes through a random Hitler phase. The shit they do with Ayase is like unexcusable in my opinion, as far as the fucking ableism of it goes. If there are any disabled listeners who would like to chime in on the Discord and either disagree or agree with me, I would love to hear about it. Discord.gg/animepod. But I don't know, the lows are so like, you know how you look at like an infographic and it's like Mount Everest is like 2,000 feet high. Not that the highs of this are Mount Everest. And then it's like, but you could fit like 4 Mount Everest in the Mariana Trench. That's where the lows are at in this show. And that ending is hot ass, besides for them spending their whole budget on like fucking Mana dancing on a Catan board for some
I really
reason.
liked that, honestly. It looked cool.
I liked the juxtaposition with Mana being a dancer and then Inori or Zero Who being a fucking singer. That was kind of cool. But you know what? I'm not gonna be a coward of this, because I rated my Secret Santa show a 4. I enjoyed my Secret Santa show more than this, and I'm a man of my conviction, so I'm gonna rate this how I feel it is, and I'm going to rate Guilty Crown is a 2 out of 10 for me.
Oh
Oh,
my!
shit.
Nice.
I was expecting me to be the lowest one.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
Alright, well, Johnny, what have you got?
All right, so like, unlike Jay, I do think this show does have some good things. For one, it is very pretty. Like, if you just showed like some of the clips of the show to someone who has no idea what the show is, they would probably think it's really good. Like, the presentation of the show is like A tier. It to me, it's like this show's like SAO, where it's like, if you're like new to anime and this is the first thing you see, you're probably gonna love this. But at the same time, the more you think about the plot, the more you realize just how many flaws this show has, how many things it does wrong. Like, this is like how many like nonsensical like random like did anyone remember how at the end the robot have kids? Like
That was cute. I actually like that.
yeah, but like what? Like like you see what I mean? There's so many things like that where it's just like, where did this come from? Where did you go? How did I meet you? Cotton Eye Joe? But like, sorry. It's just the amount of things about this show that like are really flawed is honestly a lot. But at the same time, I can't deny I liked watching it. Like I watched like the second half of the show in one day, and it's like I really can't give a show too much slack if I really enjoyed it so much that I just watched it all the way through. So like, this might be like a low tier opinion because I'm low tier, but fuck it, I'm giving it a 7.
Johnny!
Jesus.
No, like I'm a low tier human being, so you know what? Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Self-aware.
Okay, Pete, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be as hard as Jay, but I did have some huge gripes with the show. I don't even think we covered. I think Miles mentioned that he wrote down like 27 things about like the show.
Yeah,
and we
didn't
didn't get
any
to a
time.
whole lot of it to it. I had one real problem with like I don't know if it's like visual storytelling. I'm trying to think of the word, but at the end, it's the scene I hated the most where Shu is talking with people. He's like, I'm gonna give you your void back because if I die, then you die, because when the voids die, you die. And then they're like, you just said yesterday, like, you were all in. We're all in, Shu. Use our voids to save whatever. And but like, you gotta come back and be the hero. And then Shu's like, okay, I'll do it for you guys. And then they invade whatever, and then proceeds to use none of their voids. It was just like, you set up something where you could just use like what was happening, and then he's just like, you know what, your voids actually suck, so I'm not going to use them. I thought that was like just such terrible writing. I had so many problems with the cast. I thought there was maybe like the best character in the entire show was like a C- character. Like, I had such a huge problem with this cast. I thought it was awful. I could not resonate with anybody. And the best part of the show was like the music. Like, I thought like the OST was good in some parts. I listened to like a montage YouTube, and there's a song that came on. I was like, oh, it's from Guilty Crown. Like, I've listened to the song like 100 times and I didn't realize from. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And that's like the only time I said this was really cool. Man, I thought the show was just really boring in terms of like the writing. It was like entertaining in the sense of like how SAO is entertaining type of thing. I think I'm gonna give it a 3. I thought it was really bad. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Nobody got
3.
me. I know Pete got me.
Got you, Jay. Manga Club for life.
All right, yeah,
Nice.
to wrap up, I've got a couple notes that we didn't talk about as much. Music, I agree, Pete. Music was really, really good throughout the show, as well as I thought the first OP was really cool because it had a really fun chord progression in it that's very distinct and recognizable. And I thought the lyrics tied into the narrative of the show really well. I think the second OP does it a little bit worse in terms of tying to the show or what's going on in the show, but I think it did a good job of fracturing the original uh, chord progression of the original OP and making it something new in the second one to show the change in the characters and the change in what they're doing. I really liked that. Maybe that's looking into it a little too much, but no, it isn't, because that's what they intended to do, I think, with it. So I think the show had a lot of really high peaks and really a lot of low valleys, a lot of really frustrating moments where, yeah, it felt like an anime original, right? Where the studio puts the story together and there's some holes in it, and they say, well, we can't fix it because we don't have time, or we don't have the budget, which is usually time to fix it, right? Or the bodies to fix it, the different thoughts or perspectives to fix it. And yeah, it felt like a lot of different ideas thrown into one that never molded into a
Coherent thought.
well, because I wouldn't even say that though, because it was coherent at times. It's just a lot of it had like strays. It's almost like a tree branch that like frayed off a little bit and then fizzled out at different points. However, I think, Kat, you were the one who said that you would have dropped it at different points. I am in complete disagreement with that. I never even once considered dropping the show, or thought to myself I would drop the show. I was thoroughly entertained, even if I was frustrated by what was going on the screen. I was thoroughly entertained, and in the same way that like I was entertained by Akudama Drive, but god damn it if I'm not mad at it, or frustrated by things that happen in it. So um, I think I will, because of the peaks that I particularly enjoyed, I think I will end up giving the show a 7 out of 10. I was hovering between a 7 and a 6. But you know what? I think I liked it enough that I would put it in a 7, because I think there were a lot of really good parts of it, and I kind of wish it would get rebooted. I think it would be pretty cool. The apocalypse virus itself, like the disease, was really cool to see applied. It didn't always make sense, but the way it looked was really cool,
It
I
did look
thought.
cool.
And the visuals of the show in general were beautiful, especially for something from 2011. Looked like something that could come out today, or even better than a lot of the stuff that comes out today. So I really like that too. Um, yeah, I'm going with a 7 overall. So yeah, let me do my little quick maths here real quick. And wow, holy shit, we did not like this show, huh? It comes out to a 4.83 average on Guilty Crown, which is a whole 2.5 points less than the average of 7.45 on Mal. So yeah, that wraps up our discussion on Guilty Crown. Miles, why don't you tell us what we're watching next week?
I will. So, it's Romance Week or whatever.
Yay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, let
love
me
is in the
find
air.
the correct spreadsheet, and I will tell us. There we go. So, with 12 points, Nozaki-kun came in third place. In second place, with 13 points each, we had The Devil is a Part-Timer and Spice and Wolf. And then, with 15 points, we had Josie the Tiger and the Fish.
Let's go.
Now, it's important to note, though, that The Devil is a Part-Timer has 4 legacy points,
Oh,
giving
you're
it a
right,
2
you motherfucker.
Yeah.
2-point bonus. And with the legacy point
Well played.
tiebreaker, we
Well
will be
played.
watching.
I'm not even mad. That was, you know, that was better
That's
4D
good.
chess the guy was playing.
I like
Well,
We will be watching The Devil is a Part-Timer.
Everyone's favorite romance anime. You know,
Yes.
Like,
really gets
this
us in
is
the mood.
literally like, Johnny, did you dislocate your arm reaching for the romance aspect of this
I
one?
think it has the tag on
It
that.
It is.
It has romance. Like,
Yeah, well, Jujutsu Kaisen has the school tag on Mao, so feh. I don't give a shit about it.
like, I don't make the rules. I just abuse them.
That's true.
We can nominate Jujutsu Kaisen for finals week, Jay. And we can...
But yeah, all right. So now let's vote on what we are going to be or nominate what we are going to be attempting to watch on March. I believe that's the 7th. Yes, it is March 7th. So what are we voting on this week, Miles? Why don't you start us
A
off?
month from today.
I am going to nominate Sound Euphonium again because it looks pretty and I want to watch girls play instruments.
Okay, that's completely fair. A fair one. All right, Kat, what about you?
I forgot who nominated this, but she is my first waifu, and I've got to actually watch this damn show. I'm gonna nominate Spice and Wolf.
Okay,
no.
that was me. That actually was me, but you didn't take what I was going to nominate this time.
Let's
All right, Spice and Wolf.
season 1 of Spice and Wolf.
Jay, what about you, buddy?
I am just gonna go ahead and re-up Fooly Cooly, FLCL.
All right, Fooly Cooly. Johnny, what about you?
All right, so
Congrats on your first win, by the way.
no, I've won before, but like it's only the lowest rated show we've ever had.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you won. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I blocked that show out of my memory. So yeah, congrats on your first win. What's
Yeah, okay. Here's the. This might be a terrible decision, but like Pete
Okay.
doesn't really like re-up shows, and now that like I look at it, I do kind of want to watch it. So I'm gonna nominate Josie the Tiger and the Fish.
Yo, let's go.
Oh my god!
So
I
like
thought
Pete
you were-
doesn't usually re-up stuff, so like I was like, I was thinking about it. I
Johnny.
was like, you know what? Let's go. Why not?
I was concerned. I thought you were gonna re-up.
We can
Josie.
compare how people in wheelchairs are treated between these two
Oh, yeah,
shows.
exactly. Yeah, that was the whole plan.
There you go. All right, Pete, what about you?
Well, I now kind of want to do like a throwaway vote, but I'm actually going to pick the show that I wanted to watch. I put it on hold, and I don't really remember why I stopped watching it. I'm going to nominate ID Invaded.
ID Invaded. Okay.
The Kinjiro Suda rule.
Yes,
Is that a
it
metaphor for Chinese spyware?
Oh.
It's okay because Johnny's the one saying it.
It's okay. I already know all your IPs.
Oh.
And last but not least, I will nominate that Rajay Fan show again because holy shit, am I so fascinated by the fact that Happy has seen it or knows about it. And
The movie you wanted to do, right?
yes, the movie for this. It looks stunning and beautiful and
Yes, and it has a 7.01 in Mal, and I will be voting for it first overall.
That's
Yeah, and I
massively drafted.
yeah, it is, isn't it? So yeah, that's exciting. Those are our nominations. We will be pinning them in our Anime Club chat, which you can join our Discord to come talk about us. Come come tell us why we're right or wrong. I mean, the general consensus is that we're wrong, I think, right, about this show. So please do that. I'm very curious to hear your people's thoughts on what we've said.
What do you mean by we exactly are wrong about Guilty Crown?
Like our collective score is much
Yeah.
lower than the consensus.
Then the
Oh, well,
consensus
I'm
score.
correct.
Like
I'm
3 points lower.
We've already
I was
seen.
gonna say, speak for yourself, bud.
There are several instances of people of the general public not knowing what they want. This is one of those. This is
Yeah,
one of
I
those
think
instances.
Dombaka has like a 7 something.
Hey,
Got
fuck you,
him.
Miles.
Got him.
All right, before we get
I think Non-Blanca has a higher average.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
before we derail too far, let's back the train up, back onto the tracks, because that's how that works, and then let's keep it moving. Yeah, that's it for our anime watch club. And Pete, why don't you do some final plugging and ending of the show?
Yes, absolutely. Let me grab my manga since for what we're doing for a watch club. If you have made it this far and you like our content, the best way to support us is to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, whatever platform you are listening to us on. If you want to see what we look like, we have visual content on YouTube. If you don't want to see what we look like, just listen to us on anywhere podcasts are found. Next week, my favorite episode of the year, Anime of the Year. We got all the votes tallied. I have one movie left to watch before I solidify all my winners and runner up for everything that we have. We had 17 categories. We're really looking forward to that episode. Kind of gonna make a game out of it with Miles and Pat guessing what I think and what the community wants. So make it a fun interactive episode. But other than that, if you just like our watch club content, we'll see you in 2 weeks for The Devil is a Part-Timer. See you then. Thanks a lot.